Adam Weinrib here with Fansided and Yanks Go Yard, here with RJ Cutler, the director of Fight for Glory, the 2024 World Series production. And RJ, to start us off, I gotta ask, as a fan of the New York Yankees, who I don't know if you watched the ending of the World Series, did not win and actually got embarrassed, why should we tune in and enjoy this production?
Huh. Well, I don't see it that way. I don't see that you got embarrassed. In fact, I see a Yankee team that was well on its way to coming back and heading to Los Angeles for Game 6. And as we all know, plenty of teams have come back from down 3-2 in Game 6. I mean, I'm a Mets fan, so I remember 1986 we were down 2-0. And we went, as we all know, Mets famously won that Game 6 and went on to win the World Series. So look, you guys had a rough inning, that's for sure. That one rough inning. But what you see in Fight for Glory is baseball in a way you've never seen it before. It's beautiful, it's filmic, it's cinematic, emotional, dramatic. But it's going to be a little tougher for Yankee fans to enjoy all of the virtues of Fight for Glory than, for instance, Dodger fans, and we understand. But we treat your team with a great regard, great respect, and we know that we know that you're likely to be back very, very soon.
Hopefully, but either way, hey, look, I've really enjoyed. I've gotten to take a look at some, Fight for Glory, and the production value is out of this world, and the access that you've gotten is incredible. It just does make me wonder. You're throughout the process, you hinted at Game 5, right, and how you thought maybe this was about to swing, and then it obviously swung in the other direction. This more than maybe any recent World Series has so equal parts thrill of victory and agony of defeat. And
Yes, yes.
you're producing something intended for a wider audience. It's not just the Dodgers World Series film, but the intended audience, probably the likeliest people to tune in are the fans of the winning team. How do you balance all that in the storytelling, while making sure to celebrate the victors?
I mean, it's such a great question. In large part, we're looking, one of the driving themes of this three-part film is how humbling a sport this can be and how difficult it is to achieve greatness at it. And how even the greatest players, for instance, Aaron Judge, who has statistically the greatest right-handed batting season in Major League history, can hit a three-game slump where he's batting 0.77. And if those 3 games are the first 3 games of his first World Series, his team's going to be in trouble. But it doesn't mean he can't come back in Game 4. It doesn't mean he can't lead off his first at bat in Game 5 with a 2-run homer and make a sick catch to save it more runs later on in the game. Players can turn it around, and you see it, and that's what we were really exploring. Baseball, nothing is done until the 27th out. And you see that, and the Yankees were within one at bat, one swing of the bat of winning every game they lost. So that's part of the way we built this, and why we expect it to be satisfying for anybody who's watching and appreciates the game.
Now, you were blessed with an all-time, already cinematic moment in Game 1 with the Freddie Freeman Grand Slam, and I think Freeman is pretty very intentionally the first active player we hear from in the
Yep.
documentary, when he's really earnest about, you want the truth about how he's feeling, not well. We can tell. How did you lean into the theater of that moment and try to enhance it? And at what point did you know, okay, this Game 1 is probably going to stand on its own?
Well, when it happened, Game 1, you knew it because listen, Game 1 was not the most scintillating game for a lot of the game, right? It was a pitcher's duel through 5 innings, and then there was crappy defense game. And there were a couple of good plays and a bunch of bad plays. And we sat there mostly saying, "Gee, I wonder how this is going to play." And is this half of the first episode? We knew we had 3 episodes. But then as the late innings came, as the extra innings came, that's that's an incredible story because if you're a Yankee fan, as you were, you're going into the bottom of the 10th, up. Well, that's pretty good. And why aren't you going to win that game? Most teams win that game, right? Most teams don't lose that game by 3 runs. And then when it happens, it's too good for words because we of course already knew what Freddie's season had been like, his personal challenges, his family, the family challenges as well as the physical challenges, the fact that he hadn't even played in 2 of the games in the NLCS, so it is an insane moment, and you have to imagine that you're going to build the whole first episode on that. Other than that, we didn't have to enhance it. I mean, I didn't have to. And the man climbed the screen behind home plate to scream in his father's face. That's just crazy. You've got the most cinematic, dramatic moments. You've got baseball surprising you. You've got the 20. There is no 27th out in this game, or whatever. It's the 10th inning, so I guess that's not going to work. But you know what I'm saying. You've got a game, a walk-off grand slam, and it's the first walk-off grand slam in baseball history. But then you also have the amazing moment that's very private between Freddie Freeman and his wife after the game, where he says, "Look, I don't have time to enjoy this." Because if we don't win the World Series, who cares that I hit a grand slam? Nobody's even going to remember it. And he's right. He's absolutely right. If you don't win the World Series, that grand slam is, who cares? And that's the amazing thing about baseball. You can get as close as possible. And if you don't win it all, you haven't won anything. And that's a little bit of the heartbreak of it all. And we hear that from Aaron Judge when the series is over, and he says, he says, I'm going to remember this until my dying day, and that is something, as I say, that we intended to explore when we got into all of it.
It's also arriving at a perfect time. I think a lot of Yankee fans, hopefully Yankee players, but people are finally ready to hit the reset button and address, now that opening day has arrived, how it did go down. I'm curious about what percentage, I don't need an accurate percentage, but in terms of the interviews conducted, how many of them occurred during the series as it was unfolding? How many, the Yankees in particular, were, maybe willing to address things in the aftermath? Because I know they've been a little bit reticent to talk about it and open the wound. So I'm curious about how the process unfolded there.
Yeah, well, we nobody wants to talk about difficulties in their life in the moment they're happening, and we understood that and we respected that, and we didn't really even approach the Yankees until we had given them some time to attend to their wounds, to enjoy the holidays with their families, to get on a little vacation, and then in the new year we reached out. And so most of the conversations we had with Yankee players and management took place after the new year, and the Yankees were incredibly generous to Shohei sat down with us and talked to us. A lot of people talked to us, and that was really it was really meaningful. I said Shohei, I'm sorry, he did, but it has nothing to do with the Yankees. But the fact that Aaron Judge sat down and talked to us was meaningful and significant, and so we were really grateful because we had been warned. People aren't going to want to talk in the wake of losing. And we saw it, we got it. I mean, we were empathetic. Why would you want to talk? So but a couple months later they were able to reflect in a really insightful way, and you see in the later episodes when Aaron is talking, it's great stuff.
That's incredible to hear, and I'm glad that they were able to provide so much. Which was there a certain player or a coach's perspective from either side who revealed something to you about the way things unfolded that surprised you the most over the course of this process?
It's not that it was surprising. It's just that you see that everybody knows that anything can happen, and that anything can happen in any moment, and you're playing a three-dimensional chess game always, and you've got to be considering all your different options. Anything can go wrong. You've got to make your decisions with conviction. You can't second guess yourself. You've got to go on instinct, and you've got to also be willing to baseball is also a game of deception. There's that fascinating moment where Ohtani has been injured and he walks off, and Roberts doesn't want the Yankees to know that he knows that Ohtani's not coming back in the game. He wants him to think it's not that big a deal. So instead of walking into the dugout with Ohtani and kind of coddling him, Roberts splits off and goes and sits at the other end of the bench he says, I don't want them to think that we're in trouble, because any one thing, and they also know that any moment something can change. When the dropped ball happens in Game 5, it's an instant turnaround, much more so than, again, as a baseball fan, and as a Mets fan, you get used to the team not capitalizing on opportunities. That's one of the things Mets fans suffer through most is squandered opportunities. But the Dodgers felt it. They felt it all turning around. That's a fascinating thing.
Yeah, and it's amazing to see that because they've all said that in the aftermath, but you can really see it up close.
The other thing was the Dodger awareness of the scouting awareness of Yankee fielding, sloppiness, I'm going to call it. They knew it was, and the fact that Ohtani was on the lookout for that kind of short hopped throw from Soto, and was able to take the extra base. That was a big deal. And it wasn't the only one. There were a few, right? There were a few plays that it was just a little gooey, whereas you saw, and there were also great plays, but the gooiness made the difference. And you'll see after the series is over, Jazz Chisholm says, listen, we made mistakes and they capitalized. And that's baseball. The team that capitalizes, the team that capitalizes on the other team's mistakes wins the baseball game. And that's just, simple kind of how the game works. Basketball, we say it's a mismake league, the NBA, and Major League Baseball is who capitalizes on the other team's mistakes.
Yeah, I just want to give you credit again, before I sign off, for how difficult it must have been to marry all the history and the weight of this matchup onto, the modern day series, the clash that MLB's been waiting for. I mean, was not lost on me that it began with a Reggie Jackson quote, the Yankee who conquered the Dodgers pressure so well. And I've also read that Jim Bouton's ball four is a big influence on you. So
It
you
is.
can really feel, your excitement at really getting behind the scenes of a baseball season and also using that history to weigh on the rivalry. So I speak a little bit just before I sign off about how you use that history to weigh on the modern matchup.
Well, it's all about context. It's baseball is a game of history. It's a game of memory. It's a game of epic showdowns. Nobody shows up at Yankee Stadium without feeling the history of where they are and what it means. Nobody puts on the Yankee uniform without feeling the history of what it means. And the same is true of the Dodgers. And when those two teams clash, you want to feel it. So it was very important to us to make sure that the viewer of this felt everything in that context. And we spend a little bit of time at the beginning setting that up in a beautiful way. It's like you don't have much time to get it across, but they fought for the soul of city for decades, and now they fight in a way for the soul of a country, and that's a great thing, especially at a time when when the country is where it is, for it to play out as two titanic teams going up against each other. in what ended up being an epic. I get it. I get for the, I've been a fan of a team that's lost a World Series and, recently, 4-1, so I get it. But as I say, being there, the Yankees were in every one of those games, within one swing of the bat, and it was powerful stuff.
RJ Cutler, director of Fight for Glory, thank you so much, and hopefully we'll all watch the sequel next fall, and maybe a Dodgers Mets NLCS documentary would be great too.
Well, hopefully, any form of it will be great to me, and I wish you guys good luck this season.
Thank you so much. You as well.